we got a pretty fair amount of things to get through tonight.
And I'm ready with the flag whenever you are. Whenever you want to kick us off.
I sent you guys just a couple. I'm just going to run by a bunch of stuff that's across my desk that some will be followed through tomorrow night at the town board meeting, but just stuff that I wanted to toss around. We did receive correspondence earlier in the month from Steve Romaine or Romine.
Romine.
Jim, do you want to do the pledge first?
We don't do the pledge usually in the workshop meeting.
I thought we had, but okay.
Mentioning it for David there.
All right. Thank you.
And we received this 5G information from Steve Romine. I forwarded it to you all. I think it's stuff that we've seen before and that other people in our community. He's not from Olive, I don't believe.
No, he's from Woodstock.
Yeah, so I just forwarded that to you for your own perusal. I don't think there's any action we have to take to it, but it is going to be noted at the correspondence meeting, correspondence tomorrow, okay? That we received it. Any other questions or comments on that?
Nope.
Okay.
I
We
missed seeing
did,
that one.
what's that? I'm sorry?
I think I missed seeing that one. If I got it, I'm looking at
Oh,
email
yeah.
from you and I. What's that?
It was a long letter.
Yeah, very
Okay.
long.
Yes.
He writes weekly letters to the Woodstock Times on the same topic.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I did receive an email from David Sorbellini that I forwarded to you guys.
Yep.
About his requesting training credit for his completion of a 75-hour real estate licensing course. There was some out of protocol communication, I would say, between him and Dawn and Drew and people throwing about things back and forth that I think weren't appropriate. If you, the way the planning board training credits are set up, in my understanding of it, is that if there is something outside of the formal training that's brought to the planning board, people can ask the town board to give them credit for it. It's not meant to go to individual board members or the town clerk to make that decision. It's meant to go to the town board and we discuss it and decide. So that's what we're looking at now. And David, who's done, I have to admit, David has done a tremendous job running those planning board meetings. And I give him every bit of credit for it because they are not easy and he's very respectful to people and he really does a great job. So along those lines, he requested that we give him credit for the 75-hour real estate licensing course he took. Now, I don't know how many of you have taken a 75-hour licensing course. I know I haven't. So I don't have really a great idea on how many credits he should be given for this, for training for the planning board. However, Drew had an opinion on it that got back to David and he wasn't happy with Drew's assessment of it. So we decided to dig a little further into it and ask people who weren't necessarily associated with the planning board right now. So we reached out, we did reach out to the head of the Ulster County Planning Board and let him know what the request was. And he didn't think there was any reason to give very many credits at all. I did reach out to someone who's active in planning boards and real estate. And he was maybe 4 to 8 credits at best. And we did, you spoke to Mike Baden, right, Drew?
Correct.
And what was his,
Well, the first thing he did was kind of laughed, but then he said, you could give him a few credits, but he didn't have an opinion on how few, but he didn't think the general course was all that applicable to planning training.
and Mike Baden is another supervisor in the town of Rochester and on the
And
Ulster County.
Takes almost every planning training that comes along. He's probably got 1,000 hours worth of training.
Right. So along the same lines, I'm not quite sure where this is coming from, but to date, at the end of 2020, David Sorbolini had 56.25 hours. You need 4 credits a year to stay up to your requirement. So that's his bank hours. So he has what does that translate to? 14 years of hours banked, and he's looking for more. So I'm looking for a number from you guys on which we can all agree to give him some training credit for this. Does anyone want to venture into those deep waters?
Well, he's not one who skimps on the hours like some people we have. So in some ways, I'm actually inclined to give him more because I think he's going to do the training he needs to do anyway as classes come up. And that, placates him a little bit. So you said like 8 was the higher range of numbers you'd heard. I mean, I'm cool with that. I know he was offended by 10, I guess.
Let me say that Drew mentioned it about Mike. Everyone I spoke to laughed when I told them this. They thought it was kind of preposterous. And but I'm, I think 4 to 8 is an appropriate range.
Can I comment?
But I would also like to make just one other comment, and that is that he has plenty of hours. I'd like to show, respect him for the work he does. But we also, if we say that we're going to give him credits for this course, that most other people outside of our realm who have more knowledge about this kind of snicker at and say 4 to 8, we are setting a precedent for anyone else who goes along and does some kind of other outside of the formal training that we provide for these people. We're opening a door here, so I want you all to just keep that in mind.
I would like to make a couple comments. This is
Sure,
where
Don.
the 56.25 hours is over a 14-year stretch. That's how long he's been on the board.
Yep.
That's how many hours he has clocked in with us. He's not always consistent each year with 4 hours every year or more every year.
Right.
So that's his total hours, Dawn?
That's out of over the 14 years that he's been on the board, he's done 56.25 hours. He's done 5 in 2020 for this year, but he's not always consistent with every year doing 4 hours. He's been better in the last few years, I have to say. And
You're allowed to bank hours, right? If you
You're
have
allowed-
them, you don't have to take them.
right now he has credited hours of only a quarter of an hour.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, as of 2019. All right, so that 56 hours, you have to figure that by 14 years. Okay.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Always in this
Okay,
report.
gotcha.
All right. He does have hours for this year already, and I just would like to make it known, it was probably my wording, and I apologized already to Drew, my wording in his. I sent it to Drew because of his knowledge of the planning board, and then I was sending it on to the rest of the board after I talked to Drew. Except somehow he got all bent. David didn't like the 10 hours that Drew and I were talking, and I specifically told him, I cannot make this call. I have to present it to the board for final approval. So I just want that known that was told to David.
Okay, great.
So I have a couple comments. So in hindsight, we should never discuss possible hours or any idea of math without having a conversation with the people that know more about these subjects. Drew knows more about planning than anybody on this town board, but once you throw out a number, that's the number that sticks in that person's mind.
Right.
We should have said, well, we have to do a little research on this and then we'll have a conversation about it. So we started down the road here and no one's going to be happy. So he's doing a very good job. We have a lot on the planning board's plate. And since this number's out there, it would be my recommendation to do the 10, and going forward, we do our due diligence before we make any suggestions.
The only problem with that is the precedent. If someone else takes the same class and expects 10.
Understood. It's not a guarantee. We threw that number out there, and that's the number that's stuck in this person's head.
And I agree with Scott on this, but I will, in defense of Dawn and myself a little bit, this is unusual, but Dawn has asked me in the past, even when Sylvia was still supervisor, for somebody that did 2 hours training, was it okay or not? And that, when I was on the planning board, I was kind of making those decisions without going to the town board.
Yeah,
When
Drew.
somebody's asking for 75 hours, that's a whole different scenario.
Drew, this was not a knock on you. You're doing a great
I
job.
understand.
No, this is not meant to blame anyone. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
really to just make sure
You're
that
right.
as we move forward, we understand the process and that the town board makes these decisions, not anyone unilaterally. So we have a Scott proposing 10. Anybody else? Is there any other comments on it?
So if we give him 10, that means that he doesn't have to do any trainings this year or next year.
Correct. Correct. But when you've been on the planning board for 14 years, not that much new stuff comes up in
That's true.
training. And there might be some opportunities. In the NRI, there was a mention of training that we could bring to them, and they'll
I already
get-
passed that on to them.
Yes.
Right, so that's a possibility as well. So.
If we can make it so that this is not a precedent.
Right. So
This
that,
is a one-time decision, and we make
Absolutely.
that clear to him.
and we make it clear in the minutes, and so that it's written down that this is a one-time decision and it
And I'm
does
for
not
10.
apply to any future person. Every case has to be considered on an individual basis.
Okay. We can probably do that tonight. I don't think we need to do that at the formal meeting. Anybody have an opinion on that? I think we can just make that motion tonight.
Okay with me.
I'm good.
Okay. Scott, you want to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to give Dave Sterbling 10 credits for his real estate classes.
Okay, with the caveat that this is not a precedent.
There you go.
And any other training credits will be decided on a case-by-case basis.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. Okay, I can get that big file off my desk here. All right. Next one. This has been the month of, I thought February would be really slow and we'd have a lot of things to contemplate and kind of pensive. But it has been conveyed to me that a former police officer in the town of Olive is interested, and it's been conveyed to me by the chief, is interested in, wanted to ask the board if we would rehire this officer for 1 month because this officer is working in some capacity in security for an entity, and he needs to be licensed. The person needs to be licensed, and if you are a police officer, the training and the fee for the licensing goes away. You automatically get licensed. So it would be for the month of March. And we did have some people that were out in the police force, which was upping the hours of the part-timer, which always gets us into a little trouble with civil service about how many hours we hire these people for on a part-time basis. So there could be a case made that it would help, but when I talked to Sean today, or I talked to Bob Kraus, the police commissioner. He was like, no, those people are back to work now. We're actively looking for another person because we had Tom Sharon resign at the end of December, and we had a couple of people out with COVID. So it was a little bit difficult to fill the shifts back then, but now things are more stable and they're actively looking for someone. So I thought I'd bring it to you guys' attention that this was requested and didn't know if you had any opinions on it.
How long ago was he an officer?
He resigned at the
Sometime last year. Yeah,
Okay,
the
recently.
last year. I want to say
October, November, maybe.
October, November.
So this would be my viewpoint. I don't see any reason to do it unless there's a distinct benefit to the town.
Okay.
Agree.
I'm not
I mean,
sure
we
there is
are
a-
an officer short without Tom, right? So
Yes.
while they're looking, does it help fill in some hours or
I think
affect
that
the budget
you,
at all?
I think it again opens up a door that we may not want to open because as a member of the union, he could be hired, and then if he doesn't want to leave, he doesn't have to leave.
Right. I was thinking that as well.
So you, it makes it difficult. You know, I'd like to help people out, but this is not, I don't see any positive thing for our town on it.
Agreed.
So maybe we should just table that and say no, and we're done. Anybody feel strongly that we should? All right.
Yeah, when you get unions involved, everything gets tricky.
Yes.
So I don't really want to play with that.
I sent you guys a a thing from the governor's office about the tax deferment for
Yep.
people in need of deferring your property taxes. I sent it to you, I sent it to Dawn, and it's not something that the timeliness of it is very unfortunate because people have paid late fees for taxes already. It's an accounting nightmare for us. We'd have to help set up a whole new system of how to do this. I know Dawn has some pretty strong opinions on it, and I'm not feeling as if anybody's come to us and asked us for this.
I would not be in favor of it myself, just because of the complexity of it.
Yep.
Maybe if it was before taxes were due in the first place and we had time to
Yeah,
put
well,
in something, that would have been
3
nice.
months ago, it would have been nice. Yeah. It's a
Okay.
little bit kind of an odd, like almost like a political move. I don't want to put thoughts on
I checked with all the other town clerks, tax collectors.
Yes.
And it doesn't seem like many of the towns are in favor of it. First off, it came at the end of the main collection of taxes. At this point, I am at 87.5% of my taxes are already collected.
Wow.
So, we have to a $9 million tax warrant, and I'm already at 8.6. So,
Great.
9.9 million tax warrant. At
Do you have any
8.
idea how that would be like last year at this time? Like, is it
I did not check last year at the time, but we always fill a bulk of our tax warrant at the beginning anyway, because half of that I've collected is New York City all alone. But they have until June to pay this, June 1st. And to break the payments down the way they're saying, our program is not set up for it. The county's tax program is not set up for more than 2 payments. It's going to be, to break that down, it'll be just a nightmare. And I think it's not fair to the ones that have paid on time because they did this late. If they did this back in December, it may have benefited a portion of the people. And we could have maybe done something with our system. But I'm against it. I know that I talked to a lot of the tax collectors in the county, and most of them are all against it.
Okay. And, you know, I was thinking that if there is some kind of groundswell of support for this, that after June 1st, the county could actually take this on if they chose to. Wouldn't that be correct, Dawn?
I guess, yeah. I did not, one of the clerks has put a feeler out for the county, but it didn't get a response back about it. They're footing on this, but it's definitely, I don't think it's worthwhile. A lot of the towns are at the same percentage of tax collection. And they, you know, some of them have bigger tax warrants than us, so, you know.
Okay. All right. Anybody feel so strongly that we should not do, that we should actually proceed with this? I don't hear that.
Nope.
Yeah,
Okay.
not at this point.
There you go. Moving on. Just to give you an update. CWC requested their annual reporting for the Boyceville stormwater. Brian sent me a letter confirming he did an inspection during the year, visual inspection, and I sent them the report that we got from Hydrovac, who did their first year of their 2-year contract. In, I think, May, they did it, where they cleaned out the storm scepters in Boyceville. So that is about to be mailed tomorrow, and that should satisfy our annual report. Next thing is, there was some talk about putting Diana Carchidi, our assessor, onto the zoning committee, and I didn't know if we could talk about a little bit about that, Drew.
Yeah, I
At
mean,
her suggestion, she was out of the office when I went in to see her.
yeah, I mean, I asked her separately from everybody else if she would be interested in being on the committee, and she said absolutely. So, and she's been very helpful with her experience with the assessor's office and that stuff, particularly with the short-term rental stuff.
Right. So we'll put that on the agenda for tomorrow. We'll make a motion and appoint her if that works.
Okay.
Anybody against that?
I think it's
All
a
for
great
it.
idea.
Okay.
As long as she has the time. I know she's been pretty busy.
Yeah, she said she does. I mean, she said she was interested, so.
Okay. Tomorrow, I will be asking you to authorize the supervisor to sign the contract with MMI for the Bostock and Red Maple Road crossing engineering design.
Mhm.
I can explain a little bit of that to you, or maybe Brian can, that we put an RFP out for this design. It's being funded through the Shokan Watershed Stream Management Program. And we got 3 bids. I don't have the numbers here, but one was very, very low and
58,000.
Yeah, crazy
Yeah.
though.
didn't meet all of the thresholds in the RFP in our estimation, as I recall. And, oh, wait a minute, I do have that somewhere. The other one was from, how do you pronounce Bondon Tige? How do you say that, Brian?
I can't hear you.
Yeah, you might be muted there.
Hey, he's not muted. It's got to be his mic at his end.
Can't hear you, Brian.
Now you're muted.
Now he is.
So we had a meeting with the Shokan Watershed Stream Management Program and went through all of them and came up with this assessment that down to the Tigan Bond and then MMI. And what's interesting about it is when you look at them, you start to realize in their proposals where there might be some elements missing that could go to overages that MMI had included in there. So that's why theirs was substantially higher in their quote. They were the highest quote, but yet we are choosing them because they covered everything that we thought would need to be covered. And one of the dangers of this, not dangerous, but what you have to be careful of, I guess, with these proposals is that the funding comes from Ashokian watershed, and that's it. You know, if they go over, I mean, you can go back and ask them for more money, but really contractually, the town is obligated for any overages because this is a contract with the town, not with Ashokian watershed. So that's tomorrow. I'll ask you for that to authorize me signing that. Moving on. Any comments on that?
Yeah, seems reasonable. That one quote was ridiculously low.
Yeah, and you could see, you know, when the information they did provide, you could see it didn't have the depth that the other ones had. So it was difficult to compare them with those other quotes. It was just way out of line, in my opinion. Moving on to the Nature Conservancy grant that we worked so hard on in the last few months. We did not receive that grant. That was kind of a disappointment to myself and the 3 planning groups that were working with us. That was the $45,000 grant for a visioning project for the flood buyout properties in Boyceville. So that kind of went by the wayside. But on a good note on that, I did get a email last week and had set up a Zoom meeting this morning with another part of the Nature Conservancy, and they were interested in the town's buyout properties, and they kind of were very cagey about what they wanted to talk about, but they were trying to get some information as to where the town stood in buyout properties, how many there were they all in the LFA, were there some outside the LFA. So they did, at the end of this Zoom, they did they did want to get back to me in a short period of time and come back and have another discussion with me about what their interests are. So that was kind of like a little bit of a silver lining in that. We did get the Laura Jane Musser Fund grant. I think you guys knew that, which was a $5,000 grant for the Rural Initiative Grant Project, or it's called the Rural Initiative Grant. And that was very much along the same lines, not as forceful on the visioning aspect of it, but looking for land use, planning for land use on specifically the 2 properties that are being demolished right now in Boyceville, what's called the Daniels property and the Log Home Complex. They're both on the same side of Route 28. So we have 2 consultants that worked with me on the Nature Conservancy grant who have expressed interest in taking this little grant on it and working as a consultant with the town for this part of this. And one of them is Barbara Reisman. She is a landscape architect from Grahamsville. I sent you her resume. The other, I got a last minute link there from David, is Cynthia Nicotin, who lives in Boyceville and has the Brunel Park there, right at, what's the name of that street there? The Silva, right at the Silva and Route 28. They're both highly qualified individuals. We're going to have to select one, and maybe David, you can forward that link to us all. That you
Yeah,
sent to me.
as I said, I just didn't want to until I got your word, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought I had one, and I was running out of time, and I couldn't find her resume. She probably sent me a link and didn't say resume.
It's very impressive.
It's right, yeah, and they're both impressive. But I do have concerns about, a conflict of interest in a sense, when you have one planner opting for something that's like 1 or 2 properties away from where this, or several properties away from where this is actually going to be planned. And not that I'm saying that anybody would take advantage of that in a certain way, but the optics of it aren't good. And a lot of times when you look at conflict of interest, it's often just about the optics. So I wanted to hear if you guys had any opinions on that.
My opinion is I like the idea of somebody reasonably local, but I also like the idea of somebody doesn't have a vested interest in what happens with the property. So I'm more in favor with Barbara in this particular case.
Anybody else?
I don't
I was
know.
for a good local.
One time,
I don't
one
know.
person at a time.
Yeah.
Scott, go ahead.
I don't know either one, but if you go back to past years and conversations about if push comes to shove, we always want to lean toward an Olive resident or a local. So I think that's if all things are equal, I think we should go with that route.
Agreed.
You agree, David?
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree too.
you agree with going with the local person.
And I met
Unless we can identify a specific conflict.
with her before the pandemic and she had all sorts of ideas not related to the Brunel property. We've done a lot of research on grants that we might be interested in.
She is very enthusiastic about it. My feeling is that there is an appearance of conflict.
Okay.
And, um,
Possible.
and also that because she does live here, there's more of an advocacy than someone who might have a more objective opinion. So I'm a little hesitant.
We don't need to make a decision now.
No, we don't, but I did want to talk about it a little bit and just get our ideas out there. And we can talk a little bit more about it. I don't know, what is it, February now?
Mhm.
The properties are going down. It's not a huge rush, but it would be nice to make it at least, if we can't make the decision tomorrow, we should at least make it in the March meeting at the very latest. Because this one's good till 2022. So it's not so bad. The other one was due in November of 2021. So that was really timely. So let's think about that, okay? I just wanted to discuss with you a little bit tonight so you can get a sense of the different opinions.
I'll make one more comment about it. If we were dealing with a lot more money, I think the optics of somebody that might have a vested interest is much more serious. It's a relatively small amount of money, so I don't know that it's a real problem if the board tends to go with a local resident. I did have a question with the Nature's Conservancy. Are we going to get any kind of debriefing as to why we didn't get the grant?
I have one of the consultants reaching out to them to see if they can get some information. From when I spoke to all of them, they all said some grantors do that, some don't. They'd have to see how they feel about this. This is the first time this particular grant is being issued, so they don't know how they're going to respond. They might have their hands full just dealing with it. For moving forward with it, especially the timeliness of it. So we're making the inquiry. I'll let you know what I find out.
Okay, good.
The other thing to consider about the Boyceville thing is that this is a piece of property that's the two properties we're discussing for this grant are going to be one part of a larger scale change in Boyceville. There is going to be a new bridge brought over Boyceville from the Esopus. The 28A bridge will be replaced. That's supposed to start happening next year. We'll see how they do. That intersection will change. It means sidewalks and access and egress will change. It means dumping a walkway over the Esopus on that bridge and a bike path onto 28. And how we deal with that in terms of working with DEP to see if we can get access to more of the commercial area of the town, access to the other lands we have. They're all parts of a larger puzzle that we're putting together. So when we think of Cynthia's involvement in it, she's the next property up the hill from that bridge. So even though it's only a $5,000 grant, it's still, there is an interest in it to be approached certain ways. You know, it may not be the 5,000, it might be other optics of an interest. So I'm just putting it out there and we can talk later about it, but that's where that one's at. Anybody else want to make a comment? Vicky, you still with us? You're muted. I can see that.
I'm here.
Okay, I lost your picture there. So we'll talk about that in the next few weeks. The report, I wanted to give you an update on Davis Park. We had a windstorm about a week or two ago, and we had a very large pine tree came down, and I'll tell you, you couldn't do this any better than it did. It landed smack in the middle of the playground and demolished it. I photoed.
Really?
Yeah, it
was astonishing.
it was unbelievable how it did it. I was like, I can't believe this happened. It snapped at the base of the tree and the entire large pine tree came down on it. So the area is taped off. It's not to be used. And we filed an insurance claim. And if you guys remember, I think I told you this, that about 2 months ago, our insurance company approached us and asked us to update certain parts of our facilities and give them numbers of estimates of cost. And I had to go around and actually record every piece of fencing in the town. And I'll tell you, you go over to Shokan Park and there's a lot of fencing in Shokan Park. And you have to put a dollar tag on that. And it's really hard to get a pricing on things like that. And the playground was one of the more easy things because you can find relatively similar designs and go and get a number out of a catalog. So I had Rebecca do that, and Rebecca came up with the playground there in West Shokan at Davis Park, and she valued that playground at $100,000. And we looked into our some of the vendors, and the numbers of comparables are probably around the $75,000 to $80,000 mark. So she was pretty good because you also have to pay for the installation of that. So we were lucky in a sense that we got that demand from the insurance agent to update our facilities, and it was a very timely thing. I don't think they're going to like it too much, but it was a timely thing for us. It worked out to our advantage. So we are progressing on that, and Rebecca and Jean are researching various playground equipments, what's available, what's out there. We've reached out to the vendor who actually installed that one, and there might be some deals here or there. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll probably end up having to go out and for RFP. So we wanted to see, you know, what we could replace it with. We've already looked in some catalogs and things. I better shut up now. All right. Anybody have any comments on the tree falling down? Opinions on playground equipment?
Is it still there or has it been cleaned up?
No, it's still there. It won't get cleaned up till the snow is a little bit less and
Okay.
gets better access. We'll actually probably, I don't know whether we're going to do that in-house or not.
It was very impressive.
I'm telling you, I just couldn't believe it.
Could have gone the other way. That could have been worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, land in a pool. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I'll tell you, I talked to Vicky and I talked to Scott, and I talked to some of you about this, is the situation on Broadhead Road. We have a person living in a building on a property that's vacant right now. The property has a trailer on it. The person is living in a shack, a shed like behind the trailer. There's no electricity, there's no running water, there's no heat. The person claims he has permission to be there. This has been ongoing throughout the summer. He hasn't been able to produce a letter from the owner, who is in prison, about whether he is allowed to be there. We had the zoning code enforcement officer go to check this out. There were some complaints from the neighborhood, and it was determined that the building is not a habitable building, and he put up a order to vacate it as being uninhabitable. When you go to the next step, this person has reached out to the town and said, I have a right to live here. And we said, it's not a habitable structure. You have a trailer there. You can go live in the trailer if you have permission from the owner. And we were told that that the trailer was uninhabitable because it had leaks in the roof and there was mold in it. And he didn't want to do that. And we're at a standoff right now. We're at a standoff of a homeless person trying to live in a shed on a property with no heat, no electric, no water, no sanitary facility at all. And neighbors complaining. And to make the matters worse, he has a dog, which makes it even more difficult to put him in a
Shelter.
kind of a shelter. So it also has been expressed to us today that he does not want to go to a shelter, and the only way to remove him from that property is in handcuffs. So that's the situation. We are working with the police department on they have initiated an ongoing conversation with him, trying to get him into social services, but so far we've been unsuccessful. It's kind of the unspoken dilemma, I would imagine, Vicky, that this situation can evolve to this. And I guess down to the bottom line, if a person doesn't want to go to a shelter,
That's right.
you can't make them.
Nope. No, you can't. Does he have a telephone?
I don't know.
Well,
Not there.
when the police are talking with him, if he would like help getting a telephone, we could give him a free cell phone.
Interesting.
And then he could maybe reach out to somebody for some help or support.
How does he support himself?
I don't know.
Okay.
The property is in arrears in taxes. I don't know how long, and I don't know, I don't want to disclose that here, but he's claiming he's going to pay the property taxes. And I don't know, this is.
If the police would like to reach out to me at work,
Mhm.
I'd be happy to. do it.
Okay, maybe I'll talk to Sean about that. I mean, it's like, the dog's not even licensed,
Right. I bet the dog isn't vaccinated either.
No, and the dog is the kind of dog that is not going to do well if it has to go to a shelter, because the dog has some serious health issues. I think it might have an eye out. I don't know. It's really pretty ragged, the dog. And the dog runs loose in the neighborhood and goes to people's homes and things. So the neighbors aren't happy. Nobody's happy with this situation except for him living in that cold shed. And it's unfortunate. It's, nobody wants to throw anybody out of whatever living situation they have. Nobody wants to get rid of them, but I don't know how you encourage somebody to get help when
They don't want it.
yeah.
This is my life.
I know it is. I know.
I think I know that shed is actually a pretty cozy place, but
It has no
still,
heat.
it has no sanitation, even more of a concern to me. But
I'd be concerned he's gonna set it on fire. on one of the really cold nights.
All of these concerns have been made. He came into the town office on Friday afternoon and got into a heated discussion with the office staff. And he was clearly agitated, and I had to be called out to try to ask him to leave, which he did. And I don't know if I asked him or Brenda, but it was not a good situation. And he did come
Assuming he
back
has a
today.
car.
He did come back today and speak to John, our building code. He made an appointment to meet with the code inspector, and John told him he can't live there. That it's not habitable. But he's adamant about it. He does not have a car. He has a bicycle that I believe is motorized with
Okay.
like an electric charger or something. And he does have a generator, I hear, and I'm getting all this third hand, that he runs at night and has disturbed the neighbors with the generator and making noise at night.
Well, he must have access to some funds because he's fueling the generator.
I believe, yeah, he's got some kind of source of
Yeah.
income or ability to stay,
Yeah.
to some kind of substance, but I don't know. It's difficult. He rides his bike and carries a gas can on it to go fill the generator every day.
Jeez. So Vicky, I take it there's nothing the health department can do in this situation either, since he's got no sanitary.
Sure, it could be condemned.
Yeah, but that doesn't actually get him anywhere, does it?
Well, it bans him from being there and then he could be arrested. But nobody wants this guy to be arrested. And they're,
Okay.
I mean, these are really hard situations that, folks who choose not to live in the system.
Right,
That's his choice that he's making.
right.
But he's causing disturbances with neighbors. He's causing potential health hazards, I would guess, since there are no sanitary facilities there.
No, and you contrast that with the enormous amount of people that we pressure in our building department to
Right.
cross their Ts and dot their Is when they're doing any kind of modification to their home and make sure they have the proper R value in their ceilings and have, have a proper wastewater system. And, we go through all of these mechanisms for most people. And it's unfortunate that, that someone can choose to live like this and there's not much we can do.
Nope.
So we are,
We can get him a phone. We might be able to get him some help.
okay.
That would be a first step.
All right. I'll mention that to Sean and have him follow up on it with you. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else want to comment on that? All right. I'll keep you apprised of that.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, we're going to be doing resolution number 2 of 2021, which is the mutual aid for the fire department. Okay. So we have, as you probably know, a fire protection district. Some towns have fire districts. The difference between the two is a fire district is run by the town municipality, by the government. The fire protection district is a designated area that is fire protection services are provided by a third entity. And in our case, it's the Olive Fire Department. That's why in our budget, we pay them X amount of dollars per year to provide that service for us. They have throughout the years had a pretty much, I would imagine it was kind of a handshake deal of mutual aid for surrounding communities. When they need them to come to their community, they blow the whistle and they go, and they either fight the fire or stand by the firehouse if they need backup for other fires and other first responses. So the county is the dispatch for these organizations, and they have come out recommending that the towns pass a resolution obligating the Olive Fire Department to respond to mutual aid calls. And it's a bit of a legal sticky thing. I was a little bit taken aback by it because it also mentions that the town will accept the financial responsibility for that law, for that mutual aid. But I did some research into it. This was brought out to us by the Department of Emergency Services and the fire, they call it the fire services, I believe it's called, in that department, with a coordinator named Everett Erickson. And I spoke to him and I spoke to the town of Ulster, Jim Quigley, the supervisor. They have a fire protection district in their town, and he went along with it. He said he did the legal research, and what he found in his research is that ultimately the town is the authority having jurisdiction over a fire department, whether it's in a fire protection district or a fire district. So the town has the legal authority to obligate, to fulfill obligations by that fire department. And that's what this is. So I felt pretty comfortable with the legalese of it. It's something they do anyway. It's a bit of a formality for the county to obligate us to that. So there will be a resolution tomorrow, resolution number 2, that we
Does
will.
Does that contract have an end date? Is it an annual contract?
It does not, I don't believe, but I did get a letter from, I asked the fire department to provide me a letter that they sent me a letter asking us to approve the county mutual aid plan and sign the resolution. The plan is simply a revision of a previous plan and will not result in any additional responses or expenses above and beyond the plan that is in place. So I don't know if they're going to make us do the resolution every year or they just want a formality of it once and for all. That wasn't very clear. Comments, questions, applause?
Good.
I'm good.
I think
Brian, are you awake here? You look like you're sleeping here.
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
you got
Hey,
your-
we can hear you.
We got the audio's back.
Yes.
You get Avery to fix it?
You must have
Yeah.
missed that big thing where we transferred, you must have missed that big thing where we transferred all that money from the highway fund to the general fund.
Funny guy, funny guy.
Fire district.
Yeah, the fire district is now kind of one and the same anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I said it at the previous meeting when we brought this up, that since they want to make it official, if there's no end game in this, eventually when neighboring towns do not have enough volunteerism to cover daily fees, our mutual aid will become full-time responsibility to cover those towns. And so somewhere down the line, signing this with no end date, this is going to bite us. Just my 2 cents.
I agree that that it does open that up, but we do that anyway, and those towns know that they are lacking and are trying to get more members. But yes, we can.
I assume we could rescind this resolution down the road if we had to, right?
I don't know why not. It's an
If
agreement.
if everything's the same, then there's no reason for them to put this in writing.
Actually, mutual aid, according to what Chris was saying, is down substantially in the when they do the plans with the county. It's down substantially from then when I was there 5 years ago. So it's already a little reduced from what it was, despite the certain neighboring departments being very sparse on members.
Agreed. To me, it's just a red flag that if everything's going great, now we want to have this official document that I guess doesn't have an end date to say, hey, we're gonna help neighboring towns forever with no financial responsibility to them.
Good point.
You could add a rescission clause or something that says that this can be rescinded by vote of the town board or.
And if Olive was hurting for volunteers, I would love for this to be in place for our town.
Sure.
There's got to be some give and take, and if it's just, again, I just think we have to be careful what we're agreeing to here.
Mhm. The fire department wants us to do it. Let me just see if there's anything here that I'm missing in that resolution. No, there's no end date on it. We can vote on it tomorrow. We can table it tomorrow for the next month. And I could try to reach out and see if we want to, or we can put an end date on it.
One question, not necessarily related to the resolution, but one question we could ask Chris and company in the fire department. If their mutual aid gets more and more with neighboring towns, would their budget automatically go up, or do they budget it just for what they need in our town, and mutual aid kind of is on the side? So the bottom line is, like Scott's talking about, is 5-10 years from now, is our budget for the fire department higher because of the mutual aid?
Right.
The way we run our department with the 5 companies that all work together, unlike certain neighboring departments that really need to do that. I don't think it would. We could pretty much totally cover the VLI, and I don't think we'd have to increase budget because we just shift things around as we need to. We wouldn't have to get another truck. We would have plenty of members. So long as all that stuff is still good, it doesn't really affect us directly, I think. It's just a little more labor power.
That
The other
neighboring
point that was
town
made,
no longer has a fire budget.
what's that, Scott? I'm sorry.
That neighboring town that no longer has a volunteer fire department now has no town expense.
Yeah, they need to be kicking in at some point.
There you go.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one aspect of it. The other aspect that was pointed out by, I think it was Chris at the last meeting was, one of the meetings was that they also benefit from this, that the town benefits from
But
this.
it's not even. We get help from Mount Tremper and Phoenicia and West Hurley, and there's certain departments that are
Pointed
basically
out
just
when-
benefiting
When
from.
the fire happened
LHS.
last year in Olive Bridge, that there were trucks from all over.
No, everything is perfect now, but somewhere down the road, this is going to be an issue. It could be 20 years from now.
So would you be more comfortable if we put a date on it?
I don't know the answer, but that's where I think this is heading, that there's going to be volunteerism in neighboring towns, and ours is going to be a problem. And how do towns handle that going forward?
Well,
this-
there could be a case be made that the county manages the emergency services and it comes out of their budget, and they take some successful companies and bring them into a larger unit. But I don't know if we want that either. That's another possibility in there. What are
I'm
your
okay.
thoughts, Scott? Do you think that we should table it or put a date on it?
No, I'm okay with signing it based on what the fire department says. They're the experts, but I just think long-term, there's something more here. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it might be the fact that because they're the dispatch agency and they're the ones calling out for those towns to respond, I think they felt they need to have a little bit more of a formal agreement. That was my impression of this. They want to make sure that the town who's ultimately responsible for the fire protection of their district is agreeing to this. I think that's where it's coming from, but your point is very well taken. I mean, especially with our situation with Olive Bridge and the VLI, we're the ones that end up there. So I'll bring that up tomorrow. We can vote on it, but it should be an ongoing conversation with the fire department on how they want to address that. And
We need to explicitly say that the board can rescind it at any time, or do we just, is that implicit and it's fine the way it is?
I think the board has the power to rescind anything time they want. Maybe I'm wrong, but
That's
I
fine
think we
then.
can.
I believe you guys rescinded, like, when you went out of the insurance thing, we did a resolution. Remember when we did the insurance thing through the county?
yes,
later on that year rescinded that. So if you can do it for that, you should be able to do it for this.
Yeah, I mean, you know, anything that you vote on, you can unvote. You know, you can say, no, we're not happy with this. And it doesn't, it just says that we will do it when called upon. And that there are no limitations, conditions, or restrictions right now. There currently aren't any on them calling us and doing it. And if those conditions or limitations are imposed, that these will be notified in writing. So, you know, we could start looking at, we're not going to do the VLI anymore, but you know, it's first responders. You know, it's really hard to say, no, we're not crossing that line to the burning house over there.
Right.
So,
Also, the agreements for mutual aid are laid out periodically. So if our membership were down or we were having trouble responding, we could say, you know, Stone Ridge needs to be going to those as first call.
so there's flexibility in who.
Yeah,
goes
so that's a matter for the fire chief to work out with the county dispatch.
there. Mhm. All right. Well, I think the next time we have the opportunity to speak to a representative of the fire department, these are good questions and we should bring it up there and let them know our concern. I think it's a good concern. We do have a neighboring area that is not adequately protected on their own town. So what town is that, VLI? Is that
It's
Rochester?
Marbletown.
It's Marbletown.
Yeah, but Marbletown is individual departments. They're not a company like ours where we have the 5 companies under one umbrella. Each one operates independently. So Cottinghill has a lot of the same problems. They're tiny, and Stone Ridge has to cover them a lot.
I see. So if we had, if we go there, Marbletown, somewhere in Marbletown responds, right?
Stone Ridge, yeah.
Right, so,
They're about 5 minutes further though, so that's
right.
an issue.
So we could theoretically say, hey, you're here, see you later. I know it doesn't work like that. I'm making a joke. All right, we'll vote on that tomorrow, okay? All right. Let me get back to my agenda here. I can find it.
Resolution 3.
Yeah, I'm looking for my piece of paper. I had, though. Here we are. Yep, resolution number 3. I think we have some people here for that. For the NRI. Not the NRA, the NRI.
NHI.
So Dan and Simon and the Olive Conservation Advisory Council have been working on this for months. I don't know, you know, I sent the NRI out to you guys, the link. And there was mapping available for their town, but now we seem to be in a place where that seems to be in flux.
I will be fixing that this week.
Okay, so I'm not happy about that situation with the mapping, and I'm not happy that it hasn't been resolved as of today. I thought it was being worked on last week, apparently not. I don't know where the delay is. I know Dan was contacted by Rebecca, I believe, and I think Rebecca has been in touch with the website. I don't know who's doing what at this point. However, I do know that when I go on the town website and click on the map, it tells me the link is no longer found.
Is the link that Dan sent out the other day to me, could that be put on the website? Because that worked.
We need
Yeah,
to
no,
know.
I'm going to update all the links to match
Can I
them.
make a point? Can I
Oh,
make a
certainly.
point here? Let me finish.
Yeah.
Okay, what we need on our website is a PDF of the map, not a link, because then we're
Oh.
relying on someone else to provide that service for us that we have no relationship with, other than the fact that maybe they drafted this up. That could go away, just like the other one went away.
All right.
Okay, we need to own this. We need to have it on our server so that it's ours. We also, in addition to the PDF of the map, we need a hard copy of those maps to go on file for the town clerk. Okay. The other thing is the NRI, the narrative. Beautiful, beautiful work, Dan. I'm telling you, it's
Awesome.
it's a jewel. It really is, and I'm really happy that you did that. I'm really proud of it, and I really think you guys did an outstanding job on it. And we're so immediately responsive to our request for the additional material that you put in there. I really think that was amazing. But the mapping, we've got to get that down. I'm reluctant to pass a resolution saying we're approving the mapping when no one can see it. So I don't know where it is right now. Dan, maybe you want to fill us in on where you are on your end on it?
Could I say one quick thing? I believe as far as the hard copy, doesn't the hard copy of the narrative also have the maps?
I don't
I
believe
believe you
it
had said that.
Yes.
Yeah, so that'll be part of the whole hard copy you're getting of the NRI.
Right.
Oh, okay. I did. In the hard copy of the NRI.
Correct.
Yes. But
Yeah.
the hard copy of the NRI will not have the changes we made, and we have to go in and change the pages, right?
Yeah. No, I'll need to do that and just print them out and slip sheet them in to, because I think, it's a 150-page document, color copied. I think the county paid for it and they're not going to pay for it again
They got more money than we do.
for now. Right.
The
But actually, it sounds like the issue now is technological,
so
that document that I sent Drew and everybody, you're right. We don't own it. It's a, Cornell, technology. But if we can somehow, and I think what I did earlier is went to that link, downloaded each of the 21 maps to my computer,
Right.
and then they existed on my computer and they can be accessed any way I want to access them. I don't know how to do that for the town website.
I'm going to work on that.
Anybody can access it, but I think, it's taking that document from Ingrid with the link, clicking on each of the 21 maps and saving them somewhere accessible with an address to each map.
So they have to be converted from wherever we're going to something that is tangible, like a PDF or whatever file format worked. Correct, David?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Hey, Dan, when you downloaded them, they downloaded as a PDF, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If not, I can print them to PDF.
So, I mean,
Either way.
that's the process we need. I think we can move ahead on this, but I that is taking up a considerable amount of time in my office. And it's a considerable amount of time and we're still not there. And I'm a little bit disappointed in that. I don't know where the fault lies, or not fault, but I don't know where the process is weak, but we need to do it. We have a goal here that we haven't attained. And I'm very happy this is here. Don't get me wrong. This is a really important document for the town. And I can't wait to have this accessible for people. It's really something else. And, that press that we got in the Daily Freeman started out as a press release for something else and turned into this. That conversation I had with the reporter was not about this. When he said, "What else you got going on?" I said, "Oh, we're doing a natural resource inventory." And the next thing you know, we had the article about that. So it was great, and it's great press, but we do need to resolve these issues that are before us.
So it seems like there's two things we need to do. One, getting the edits, the additions that you guys suggested that we made, get them printed, slip sheet them into the 5 copies, and I'll deliver all or most of those to the town offices.
Correct.
Then there's the issue of taking, of putting the maps onto the town website, probably one at a time, so we don't have to follow that Cornell link.
Right. And I'll have that handled this week. Weekend at the worst.
Okay, given that, can you sleep well now, Jim?
I never sleep well. No, I actually have a bed being delivered in the snowstorm tomorrow that I'm like fretting about. God, I might have to go to Kingston and rent a truck to bring it from the bottom of my driveway to the top. But that's my problem. Okay. Any other comments on the NRI? I'm telling you, if you haven't seen it in depth, it's remarkable. I think we'll give
Yes,
a
it
copy
is.
to the library.
Yes.
We'll give a copy to maybe the Ulster County Planning Board. We'll keep a copy in the vault with Dawn, and then we'll have 2 copies, one in the supervisor's office and another one somewhere.
Yeah,
You wanna
it's an
keep-
interesting read. And by the way, in 2 weeks, you're all going to be tested on rare salamanders and bedrock geology.
Okay.
Be prepared.
I'm ready.
Was this gonna go on our permanent record?
Can we get training credit for that?
But when
right.
it's up for re-election, I'll publish it. All right.
There you go. All right. But thank you, Dan. Thank you, Simon, Dan, everybody in the OCAC, Ingrid, everyone involved. Remarkable job, really remarkable job.
You earned your pay.
You earned your pay.
Good.
We'll double it next year.
Yeah.
What I learned in 3rd grade arithmetic is anything times 0 is 0, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
Still there.
Actually, speaking of Ingrid, that as soon as we approve it, I'm going back to her to get her advice and assistance on an open space inventory.
Right, and
Uh,
I will tell you that coming down the pike for the Conservation Advisory Council, I am still trying to get a list of the properties I need you to look at in the Boyceville and Shokan hamlets so that we can make a decision at the town board on whether to allow the city to buy land there or not. And if so, what size acreage we want to allow them to purchase. And that's a huge assessment of our available land in those 2 hamlets.
Yeah,
No.
and we essentially own them now, right?
No, I'm
No.
talking about every vacant land in those
Oh,
hamlets.
the vacant land
Yeah.
in the town.
That
Okay.
could be
So-
purchased.
So what I'm looking at is, from just a cursory glance at it, I would say, yeah, maybe we don't want to allow more city land purchased by New York City in the hamlet of Shokan. That might make sense because we have a wastewater treatment facility scheduled to be designed and constructed there in the next few years. We might not want the city to buy commercial property that could have a business on it on the 28 corridor or a home or anything else. That's become the area where development might be encouraged within the sewer district.
Right, no, especially.
And
since-
conversely, we
Yeah.
might look at Boyceville and say, why aren't we letting them buy a 2-acre parcel on the banks of the Esopus that can have no development in it? Let the city buy that. That's the kind of thing that I look at it as. There are parcels in Boyceville, I'm certain, that would love to, that weren't in the LFA, that aren't, eligible for the New York City funded flood buyout program, that the city should be able to buy because you can't build anything on it. Instead, the city's buying land in Boyceville, up the hill, 20, 30 acre plots that could have other things done with them that aren't as sensitive, but they know that that's a bigger land buy for them. They have quotas to meet like everybody else. So my point being that there is a move toward that. It was recommended in the National Academy of Sciences assessment of the programs administered by New York for the FAD. They mentioned that land use and that disparity of stuff in the floodplain, stuff not in the floodplain. So I think we need to look at that, and we need to have this done by June. And I'm trying to get you the data as soon as I can. It's unfortunate it's a busy season for the assessor to. She's got a list, but you're not going to like the list that she has now. It's got too many properties on it. We're trying to winnow it down for you guys. All right.
Okay, so that's something.
Actually, if we can get that even before we can get out, we can start kind of comparing that to the NRI and seeing issues that show up through, soil and wildlife and whatever else we can find. water resources, that sort of thing. So
It's
that
gonna
might be,
take
we can do the homework now while we're sort of locked in with the ice and snow.
Yeah, and it's also going to take a visual assessment of it. You're going to have to
Yeah.
say,
But
you know,
ideally it'd be melted before we do that.
and whatever we decide is going to be political because there are going to be people saying, hey, what do you mean I can't sell my land to the city? I'm dying to. And you're going to have other people who are going to say, you know, I want to sell my land to the city and now you're not letting me, you know, or you're letting me now and you didn't before. And it's going to be a lot of controversy in this. So we need to really get on it and assess this.
Yeah, but we probably won't have a formal scientific OSI by June. So what the CAC would be prepared to do would be, you know, look at the NRI, study, you know, once we get the properties from you, study them, you know, flora, fauna, geology, et cetera, and then give you recommendations.
Yeah, and it's complicated because the hamlets of Shokan are very specifically defined by New York City DEP. Okay, it might not be what you think. The hamlet of Boyceville, I believe, goes all the way up to 28, almost to Shokan. The hamlet, that's designated hamlet. So we got to look, there's a lot of things in here that are important. So what might be good in Boyceville down in a floodplain might not be good for the property owner up on 28. But we need to get assessment of that before we can make an opinion.
And we can only set the rules per hamlet. We can't say down in the floodplain, it's this, up the hill, it's that.
I
We
don't
say
know.
Boyceville,
I do know that we can have Shokan different than Boyceville, and that we can change the lot size available for purchase. Right now, I believe it's a 10-acre minimum. We could say in Boyceville, it can be a 1-acre minimum or a half-acre minimum. Or that we may not want to do that. That might open the door to some, but we don't know how many half-acre, 1-acre parcels there are in the hamlet, the designated hamlet. It's going to be tough. That's going to be a really tough one. And in the past, the town has allowed them to buy anything, anywhere. But we have choice to make here. And when we make that choice, it's lock solid for 5 years. We cannot retract it. It's locked in. So it's a very important decision that's coming down the pike to us.
Yeah, from an environmental point of view, I don't understand why we can't treat Boyceville differently than Shokan. And the NOI makes a big point around, you know, flood-prone properties, and you know that, and if we identify some parcels that are indeed in the floodplain, we'd make a strong recommendation about what can be done with it.
It's not on a parcel and parcel basis. It's on a hamlet basis only.
Okay.
So there's larger implications all around. And what you might say, we're going to allow 1-acre parcels to be sold in the hamlet of Boyceville because there's 10 of them that are in the floodplain that can never be sold or developed. You might also find maybe the analysis will say, oh, there's only 1 or 2, and it might not matter. But if you say that in Boyceville down in the floodplain, up in the hill, you might get 20 people selling 1-acre parcels to the city. I don't know what's out there. You know, we don't know what's out there, and you can't translate that to Shokan because if you say we're going to allow 1 acre in Boyceville, there's a lot of 1 acre. You know, there's probably more in Shokan. And then everybody's going to sell to the city, and you're going to have this wastewater treatment facility that doesn't yield the commercial value that it could to the town and tax base to the town.
Currently, Jim, there's no restrictions on them buying land at all, right?
Only on the 10-acre minimum.
it's a pretty big restriction.
But they've bought smaller lots than that in Shokan.
I might be wrong on, maybe it's 5-acre, but it's there is an acreage restriction.
Okay.
I mean, I sold them 7 acres about 18 years ago. So maybe it's a 5-acre.
Maybe it's 5, but you're also in a different classification where we live. We are in what's called a 1A area, I believe, which is the highest priority for land acquisition.
Right.
And they might have a different parameter in that, and we're not in the hamlets.
Right.
It's the weird, every time you think you get these rules, you find a new one. It's what I'm finding. I've been doing this 7 years with this watershed stuff, and it's still amazing to me how difficult it is to get a good grasp on what the rules are.
Is there anything in this that someone can subdivide and just sell off? So we're looking at the ones that are empty. So if you have a 10-acre property that has a house, right now it's not on our list. Can you they could subdivide off the 5? And now there's a
Potentially,
new
yeah.
one that we weren't anticipating.
That's a good point.
That's typically what's been done from the planning board point of view. People subdivide 20 acres, keep 5, sell 15. Several people along Watson Hollow did that.
So we're going to have
Yeah.
to keep an eye on that as well as the ones that are on this list.
Yeah, when you go to a planning board meeting, more than half of their proposals are subdivisions.
There are a lot, yeah.
Subdivisions or lot line adjustments.
So anyway, I'm just letting you know that's, I want to keep that in your mind that we're going to be doing this as soon as we can. Okay.
Okay, it's on our agenda and
Yep.
we'll
After
probably
the
be getting
end.
back to you for all the minutia that you know that we don't know yet.
I don't know it yet. I've got 10 other things before that I got to get done. Okay. Anything else on NRI? Very good job, gentlemen and ladies.
So
and
Very good.
so you'll vote on it tomorrow night?
We will
Yes.
vote on it tomorrow night. Yes, it's a resolution. Resolution number 3, 2021. Now we're moving on to resolution number 4 of 2021, which is the introduction of local law number 1 of 2021. Dawn, I got that right? Dawn's not even at the computer.
No, I was writing, I'm sorry.
I thought you were making a drink somewhere.
I already had that. No, that was right. You did good.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I kind of winged that one.
Yeah, because introducing the local law.
Right. So that will be the adoption of the community choice aggregation for the town of Olive. And that goes through the local law procedure. We introduce it by resolution. And you'll notice the resolution includes that we can send it to you guys via email. And Dawn, you'll have to put the email addresses up on the bulletin board. You just put one of those brochures up there with our emails. That probably should suffice.
Okay.
There is a requirement in that about that. It's so weird every time we do one of these. The community choice aggregation, Simon's here. I don't know if you have any questions about it, but I can tell you the local law is that it's introduced. We schedule a public hearing, we can do that. And then we publicize that public hearing, have the public hearing, and then we can vote on it, right, Dawn? And adopt.
Right, you have to schedule your public hearing, have the public hearing, and then you can make a vote on it at that point.
Right.
After the public hearing, yes.
And that's adopting the law. And the law will be sent to you once we approve the resolution tomorrow. I think we've gotten a lot of information on this over the last 2 years, so.
So are you going to schedule the public hearing tomorrow night also?
We could,
Because if you don't, then you wait until March, you're putting the public hearing off until at least May, depending on when you want to do it.
I want to, I don't know how you guys feel. I'm tending to think that we should not rush this. And I'll tell you why. It's one, I have to have a public hearing this month for the police department. I've got to get that police reform thing done. That's got to get off our plate and into the basket, the in or out basket. So I think that maybe the public hearing could be at the next workshop meeting, but even then, depending on how much this has a potential to draw a lot of interest in the public. I feel it's important that we're very transparent about it and that we have a little bit of time to promote the meeting and get the word out about what this is. Okay.
You can always schedule the public hearing for in April, right? And then we'll just advertise it because we have certain timeframes before that we have a minimum of time before the meeting. We have to get the legal notice out. I have to look
Yeah.
that.
But I think if we did it in March, Dawn, if we decided in March to have it in March, we could have it later in March, like mid-March. And we might even need a second one. We'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah.
So let me just see if I can pull that up real quick.
There are some considerations as to the aggregation and timing of other towns that are doing this at the same time that may want us to kind of move it along.
Right. And that's their problem, not ours.
Eh.
We have a public duty to make.
No, I know. I'm just
aware.
saying to move it along as fast as we reasonably can and not
So,
back
you know,
burner.
well, March 1st is on Monday, so that means that the second Monday and Tuesday are like, you know, the 8th or like this month. And that could be, it could mean that we could schedule that unless you guys want to do it earlier. I don't know what you feel.
And you also have the option, if you don't want to do it at the next audit meeting, we can just pick another date.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it at the same time as the town board meeting or the audit meeting. You can pick any date you want for that public hearing.
All right, so let me take a look. We're at the 8th of February now. Our next board meeting is the 8th of March, which is 4 weeks. Let's just resolve this. Do we want a public hearing before the next town board meeting? Any feelings on that? Scott says no.
No, I would rather do it at a town board meeting.
That's
A regular
preferable.
scheduled town board meeting.
Yes.
So why don't we schedule the public hearing for March 8th? Does that work?
That works for me.
But,
Okay.
Jim, when were you planning on having your public hearing on the police task force?
I'm so far behind on that right now. I'm hoping to have that before the end of the month, but
When is it due to the governor's office?
Sometime in April.
yeah, I'll probably either have it done like at the end of March or February or that first week in March. I'm going to be working on that tomorrow. I have most of it written. I have to just send it out to CAC, make sure everybody's good on it, and then we have to publicize a meeting, public meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So that puts me, you know, the week before. So yeah, we could do it on the 8th if everybody's comfortable with that. But if we get a lot of people, it could be a long meeting because, you know, we have to do this in that meeting too. We have to do our workshop. Everybody good with that?
We would schedule the public hearing for a section of time.
Yes.
All right, and then do the workshop after we close that public hearing.
So why don't we do the public hearing at 6:30 on that day? Can people make 6:30 on the Monday?
Sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and we'll do it from 6:30 to 7?
Well, you can stretch it if you need to,
Okay,
because it's going to depend on how many people you have that are show up to your Zoom meeting.
right, exactly. And if my memory serves me correct, Simon, this is something that we can approve at this meeting after the public hearing, and at any point in this, we can bail on it.
Correct. I think there's several choke points, and I have an illustration up if you want to see what they are. Dave, if you
That would be helpful.
Okay,
Yeah,
Dave.
hang on, just give me a sec. What? Not getting an option to make you co-host for some reason. Oh, you got it anyway. Good.
All right, can everyone see that?
Yep.
That was one slide that Jeff Demansky took the board through at the CCA meeting that we had last summer in Davis Park. And the yellow diamonds are the different stages at which the town board gets to look at things. So first of all, adopt the local law, then select an administrator, then approve the supply contract. And then once the RFP has been given out and come back with pricing, then they get to approve that as well. So there's a lot of different stops along the way when the town board can say, no, we don't want to do this, or we're going to put a halt on it, or whatever.
And one thing I'd like to say is ideally from our perspective, after the public hearing, when we adopt the law, if we could select the administrator at the same time, there's no reason it needs to wait another month or two.
No,
And that allows them to get going.
so then what we'd like to have from you guys is a resolution that selects the CCA administrator.
I will put
Yeah.
that together and have it
But
to you
we-
like shortly.
We also met with two of them, right?
Correct. We
Did
met
we
with
ever have
The only
fact,
two real
the
operators.
only two that are operating south of the capital district. We've met them both.
Correct. And the town board would actually have to make a decision, vote on that. And we might as well discuss that right now. Who were the two candidates, Simon?
Dual Assets, which is represented by their not-for-profit affiliate Hudson Valley Energy. That was Jeff Demansky that came in to see us. And Good Energy, which was represented by Ed Carey, who also came to meet with us. I don't think he met with the town board. I think he met with
He did not.
the CAC.
Oh, yeah, I met him there, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff Demansky. And what was what was Jewel Assets local company called?
Hudson Valley Energy. It's on this slide right in front of you here.
Oh, okay. The is the selection process of the CCA is an administrator. It is a contract with them, right? That will
Yeah,
be
2-year contract generally.
Yeah, exactly. A 2-year contract between the municipality, Town of Olive, and the administrator for 2 years, during which the administrator then selects the provider of energy based on things that we put in place with them. So for example, we might say, we want our number one choice to be 100% green power, but we would allow a second choice that's maybe 0.5 cent per kilowatt hour cheaper, that's green and brown, which would be equivalent to the Central Hudson, which would be green and
Right.
brown.
What I'm getting at is when we do the CCA administrator, the town board hasn't met the other guy. And I'm not quite sure of in terms of like procurement policy, whether we need to have them both send proposals to the town. And I don't know how you even value that. Like our procurement policy says is by municipal law in New York State is if it's over a certain dollar threshold, you can do this. If it's
There aren't dollars involved in this,
Right,
not expenditures.
exactly.
Yes.
There's no dollars. It's only on behalf of the citizens that we're making a decision.
right, but that person stands to make money on it
Sure.
at the end of the day. It's a little bit of a gray area. So I need a little bit of feedback on how that is selected. If you're telling me that it's legal to just appoint one, select one and appoint them,
That's what, when I talked with Tom Conrad in Marbletown, that's the way they did it.
how is that process?
They basically just had a resolution and selected the administrator.
So they did not, the town board did not interview any of them?
At least that's what Tom says. We could talk to, I don't know if Mike was in charge down there or not, or Rich was in charge down there or not at that time. I don't think he was, but I could talk to Tom again and see exactly how he led them through that.
Okay.
I could probably even get their resolution. That might help too.
Let me ask you this is, yeah, we will need a resolution. Okay, so give us a, you know, a copy of what they used as a resolution for that. But also, is the is the OCAC prepared to make a recommendation? Let me
Absolutely.
ask you that.
Yes.
Okay, so your recommendation is Jewel, I presume?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So why don't we presume that Jewel will be the selected CCA upon resolution at that meeting with the local law? And, but if you find out that the process is otherwise, we might have to table that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll try to find out this week from Tom. He's very responsive.
And,
If you guys know anyone in Saugerties, they are going through the process right now. They've already approved their local law, and I believe they've just approved Jewel as their administrator. That's what Jeff Demansky told me. So if you know anyone there, we can. I mean, I know Vernon Benjamin there, so I can talk.
is it the town or the village?
I believe it's the town.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions about the two administrators and our, our observations of them, or?
I'd like to know why you guys selected Jewel.
Well, one reason is that simply everybody in Ulster that's doing this has. I don't think anyone has done Good Energy in Ulster County.
No, that's correct.
Our opinion of Good Energy was they were very corporate,
Ah,
not as handsy and not as much leading you through this process. Jeff is like very dedicated to this process and getting the public word out and handling that aspect of things. And we just, I had more of a feeling it was going to be, some number you call into a corporate office with Good Energy.
so
Yeah.
You guys have any other opinions to add to that?
Am I muted or not? Can you
No,
hear
we
me?
can hear you.
Jewel and Jeff was more credible, better educated, and related to us with questions and answers. The guy from Good Energy was less knowledgeable, but more slick, and didn't seem as interested in how he could work with us. He just wanted us to sign on the dotted line.
Yeah, we're also real small potatoes compared to
Yeah.
working with Hudson Valley.
Yeah,
Right.
and the deals were at least as good. Where there was no, I mean, they get a fraction of a percent, and there was no difference there.
okay, thanks.
Good for me.
All right. Okay, so that's how we'll proceed. We will have the public hearing on March, what was that, 8th?
Yes.
At 6:30. Depending on the public input of it, if there's a lot of people and it looks like there's a lot of interest, we'll schedule the second one. If it's something we can do in that half hour and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people waiting to speak, we can then move the following night and adopt the law on March 9th. So we'll need those two resolutions prepared for us. And we will need that research into the CCA selection to make sure that we're doing our procurement right. And I can check with Mr. Costello in Saugerties on how they're doing it. All right.
And as we always like to note, this is a bunch of points for the Climate Smart communities process.
Okay. Any other questions on it?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, we're flying along here now. Ryan Burns, resolution number 5. We're going to award the bid to MMI for the engineering design on Red Maple and Bostock stream crossings. I actually discussed that when you were having your technical difficulties there a little bit. Yeah, because yes. So that's the last resolution tomorrow that we'll be working on.
Okay. Jim, can you hear me or no?
I can hear you.
I'm still having technical difficulties here tonight, but absolutely. And if you need any background on that, also, certainly our initial grant to AWSMP was for the amount of $135,000. Through the process and reviewing, we were sitting at 145,660. Certainly MMI being a little proud in the number again, but certainly based on their performance in the past, and we reviewed this in depth with the watershed folks, Adam Doan, Leslie Zucker. But certainly moving on, I think there's a lot of stuff that didn't get put out in other the other RFPs that MMI is going to cover, and I think that number would add up certainly as extras, and applying for extras. I think we're kind of already above and beyond, and I'm grateful to the watershed folks for accommodating this this $145,000 and 660 here total. But like I said, moving on, I'm looking forward to this project. I said this has been an issue in town. Red Maple, Bostock, our last event Christmas time there overtopped the road on Bostock again, and it just, I'm kind of eager to get this moving along and bring it to rest there. You know, I said there's a lot of things that are vulnerable in that area. Our police headquarters, our meeting hall, there's a lot of things there, and I just think this is going to be a great thing moving on here to have addressed in town, and keep the roads open and mitigate our flooding in that area. Certainly.
Brian, I'd like
Is that
to ask,
a,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
is that a culvert, or is it going to be natural stream flow under that, or how's that engineered out?
It's going to be going through the engineering stage, and I'm kind of leaning towards, I think the design on Upper Boyceville and De Silva Road, and it's semi-proven with the runoff we had at the box culvert embedded. It's worked out very well versus a three-sided. It gets a little more complex in dealing with the water management during the process, and certainly looking forward. But I said Bostock, Red Maple has a very interesting braided section upstream that they're going to be looking at, and on a Bostock area, there's kind of the gradient there. They're going to be looking at that to hopefully address, because there's like a little lull in the road there that it wants to bypass the inlet, and it's certainly both crossings are totally undersized for the flows we're having nowadays. So looking forward to MMI's design on this.
Excellent.
Okay, what I would like to ask you, Brian, is, and you and I can work on this, if you can do the first draft.
Sure.
Right, we mentioned this when we reviewed, whenever you do an RFP and you're not choosing the lowest bidder, it's suggested that you create like a narrative document that explains your reasoning for selecting a higher than lowest bid. And so if you can put together a little bit of your reasoning, I'll look at my notes, see what you got, and we can come up with something that can go into the file for this RFP. So if there's any questions about it, we can document.
Absolutely. Sierra and I have been working on that already, and she took great notes, and we'll collaborate, Jim, and certainly give these engineering firms feedback. And like you said, moving on, we'll definitely basically put it out there where they kind of missed on it, you know?
Okay. Very good. Any questions about that? Just give you a quick update on one of Brian's things is Burger Road. We made an application to CWC for a stream crossing there. There was a request for more information. Due to a number of factors, weather, the schedule, how soon the meeting came up, because it was on the first day of the month or second day of the month. We did not get it together to go back to CWC. So we tabled that to the next month, and they've asked for some more better documentation of the flooding and things like that on that road. And Brian has been out looking at, talking to neighbors, getting photographs of flood events that happened there. So we can make a stronger case for that. Any other questions?
Nope.
Beautiful. Everybody tired?
I have one question.
Ah,
I forgot to come over to the town office today and look at the bills.
I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah, I screwed up. Are you going to be there tomorrow? Even if it
I am
snows?
not
Will somebody be there?
working from home, but yeah, somebody will be there, yeah.
Okay,
They're on Rebecca's desk.
all right.
He
I'll
wasn't
get
there
over
when
there
I,
tomorrow morning.
What's that, Vic?
I said you weren't there when I got there this morning.
No, I was on that call with the Neighborhood Conservancy this morning. I work half the time, most of the time from home, and I get into the office about maybe a third of the time.
Mm.
And, but I always manage to leave whatever I need at one place or the other.
That's why we need a digital world. Then it's always at your fingertips.
But I am starting to appreciate Google Drive. I am starting to
Good.
like that. Yes, I'm starting to get the knack of it. But any other issues that you guys want to bring up? Anything pending?
I have something.
Everybody's good?
We have a request from the Onteora Booster Club.
Okay.
They want to do a Brooks barbecue on March 9th. It's a fundraiser for Onteora. The high school will not let them use the property for any kind of event due to COVID. Brooks Barbecue is not cooking on site. They bring the dinners already cooked. They're going to sell approximately 500 tickets. It would be from 3 to 6 on March 9th, which is a Tuesday. And the request has been to use the town court parking lot,
It's just drive through.
just a drive-through. Again, you've seen the drive-through at the firehouse where there's 2,000 dinners on a Sunday with traffic. This is a Tuesday with 500 dinners. So,
Yeah, I'd much rather back up on Bostock than 28.
right.
That's the
So,
night of our board meeting. Do you think you can get them to cater the board meeting?
well, we're gonna be zooming, aren't we? I'm gonna assume so. But if we said yes, I'm sure we could probably get some kind of free stuff. out of
I don't
it.
even
But-
want it free. I just want a reservation and delivery, home delivery.
So they're kind of in a crunch to find a place because it's only 3 weeks away and they got to print the tickets and go. So
So I'll make a motion that we approve that, as long as they show us the certificate of insurance and provide a letter to us that will specify that they will be following the guidelines for COVID restrictions in the county
okay,
to do such an event. And it would also, I think, be great if they can get I don't know how many sell in RSVPs, but if they can get the RSVPs and tickets out and pre-sell the 500, that would be better. I don't think we
yeah,
want
well,
to.
that's why they need to know the place so they can get the tickets printed. But
Okay,
Brooks will only do I think it was 550 was the max deal that they'll do. So
I'll do 50.
I'll second your motion, Jim.
All in favor of allowing that to happen with the correct documentation?
I
Aye. Opposed? Great. All right, that's so passed, and you can let Lori know and tell her we want to get tickets, so.
yeah.
Not free tickets, I'm not asking for that. We just want to be able to get reservations. All
The
right,
fire company's not even doing theirs this year.
nope.
yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah,
Brooks can't do it because they can't cook on site and they don't have that's too many for them to bring down.
Right, right. All right, anything else?
I got one more thing.
Come on, Scotty, give it to
I
us.
haven't had dinner yet, man. Come on.
We talked about pool permits for short-term rentals
Yes.
at the rec meeting. And what came up was if you have a vacation rental that's short-term, that the owner of that property could buy a pass so that the guests could use. And the permit fee that we came up with was $500. Not sure if it would fly until we get as a town some better application fees and tracking and all that stuff. But if I'm renting out a place for the summer for 20 different people, to throw in the possibility of use of a pool, $500 is not a big deal. That maybe I could capture more money on my side. So
For
just a
how-
thought. We want to put it out there and see what everybody thought.
So you pay $500, you have a short-term rental and you pay $500 and you have a family of 4 that is in your short-term rental. How many of them get into the pool?
Those 4 can get into the pool. We did it for a maximum of 8 people. Because a lot of times there's 2 family or, family with friends. So we did a maximum of 8.
Any other above that would pay day use with as guests with those people?
Yes. Again, we're kind of in a gray area. I don't know if, how active VRBO rentals in Olive would want to pursue this, but, as a business side of it, I think, it's a great idea that I can increase the value of my rental to say, hey, you have the use of this pool.
Sure.
I mean, that's what they do in Jersey down the shore. They say, the house comes with beach passes. That's a big selling point to the houses that don't, because you don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of getting them, because they structure their beach passes so that it's expensive if you stay more than, if you go into after the day use, it goes into a longer term, like several months, and it's expensive. So if you're down there for a week or two, it's pricey.
Right. So we have a preliminary document done. I just, before we, say.
I'd like
yes
to
or no.
work on the layout of that a little bit. I'm
Sure.
not so big on the things in parentheses in bold and the main things not bold, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Drives me a little nutty. I'll work on that with Gene and get it back to him.
I talked to Gene, and you guys thinking that that's going to run through my office?
Yes.
Can they buy that at $500 at the pool?
No, it would run through you.
Okay.
Okay.
Right when you're doing the extended tax.
Yeah, no, I told you, if you vote yes on that, Scott, you got to come in and do the accounting.
All right.
Hey, Scott, just a quick question. I know it's
Yeah.
a pool thing here, going a little bit early, but I know Jimmy's up for his certification. I don't know if they're in rec meetings. You guys have, I know Gene had to take the training as well.
Yeah, didn't address it, but we'll find out when there's some dates and get classes and get them set.
Yeah, I
I
know.
understand. We were going to send both of them, is my understanding.
Yes, yep.
I know Jimmy's runs out this year, just in the back of my head.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Well, thank you all. Thanks
Make a
for
motion to adjourn.
hanging in there.
Second.
Hi.
Not like those CAC guys. They cut and run.
Yeah.
All right. You have a
Thanks, all.
nice night. Thank you
Great
all.
night.
Yep.
Do we
See you
have
guys
a-
tomorrow night.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
All right.
Carried. Good, Dawn.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all. Bye now.